Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We hope you had a wonderful weekend. Um, we are excited to come before you this evening and just share. Last week we were talking about um, differences and how we navigate those as couples. And so we decided we're going to pick up. And I know we've talked about some of these things before, but tonight we're going to talk about some very distinct differences between men and women. And we know that many of you all have read John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I haven't read that book. That's not his name?
Gary Chapman,
Okay.
Dr. Gary Chapman.
Okay. So we read that, we talked about it last week, how distinctly different men and women are. And tonight we're going to talk more specifically about women. So I'm passing it over to my husband.
Um, so this particular episode is intended to
And I was right, it is John Gray. It's John Gray, MD, Dr. John Gray.
It's intended to talk about how we are rather distinct and different, and yet and still the opposite attraction is something that we can appreciate. And in the midst of the opposite attraction, there seems to be a inability to understand what these distinctions are and to appreciate them to the point that we leverage them as opposed to them being deadly and sources of great pain and diminished return. So women, God said it wasn't good for man to be alone, and so he decided to put man to sleep and then create the person of woman. And I believe that because of that process taking place while we were asleep, there were some things that we needed to learn. We need to understand. We need to at least research, right? And I've heard one wise person say, when you think that you figured them out, that you need to look again because you haven't. But yet there are some practical things that we can grasp, and that's what we want to talk about, so that we are helping some of the brothers to get a crash course of sorts and be able to walk in a deeper, better positioning. All right. What's the first one?
And so, just so you all know, these are generalizations. These are not perfect rules. Okay. There are some cases where it's could be the opposite, but in general, I mean, typically speaking, is what am I trying to say? Like these are,
You said it. They're generalizations.
yeah, I don't want
They're
us
not
to,
specifics.
okay.
So every woman may not fit these particular descriptors identically, but yet and still there's going to be some level of compatibility with these things that we're about to share. So
Okay. So thank you. So for the first one, women are typically more interested in love and relationship. And because of that, we have the capacity to know what it takes to have healthy, intimate relationships. And when we're talking about intimate relationships, we're not talking about this physical aspect right now.
right,
Right.
right.
So because we are, you women typically are more um, focused on cultivating relationships. We typically um, know how to do that better than men.
Well, you know what you like, you know what you need, and men are in the process, I'll reiterate, of having to discover. And one of the disconnects is men spend an inordinate amount of time pursuing, but then once the capture of the person who has your interest is achieved, we may tend to lose the intensity of pursuing to know. We typically pursue to get, right? And not necessarily pursue to know and understand. So when she says that women know more about relationship, basically what she's talking about is romance. She's talking about
No.
intimate. I'm not talking about sex.
Romance. Well, even just friendship. And it's so much more than the eros kind of love that
Yeah,
you
I'm not necessarily talking about eros. Well, go ahead. What is the distinction that you're making between eros and romance?
Well, I'm just saying that it's not just about romantic relationships. We care about relationships. Like we care more if somebody's not speaking to us or if somebody gives us the cold shoulder, because relationships are like we're nurturers. And so we like for our relationships to be nurtured. So just think about sometimes when I'm like, I don't know what I did to her, or I don't even know why she's not speaking to me, or why she would say that about me. You're like, just get over it because you're like, bump her. You don't need her. And you're
Yeah. So you made a stark line of separation between romance and friendship, right? And so I want you to kind of help flesh that out so that not only our listeners can grasp it, then maybe I'm not reading it right in terms of your meaning.
Well, I'm just saying we're more concerned about relationships, period. Not just like the
Oh, you mean beyond you and me?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
See,
So
I didn't
like
grasp that.
we don't necessarily like some of us are bothered when others aren't giving to the relationship or when people just go on their way and things like that. You know how uh, so so it's even more intensified when you're in a love relationship.
Okay. So you're not saying that men are not relational. You're just saying women are more relational than men.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So I think this is a very important clarification, because I thought you were saying that women weren't really interested in romance, but keep going.
No, no,
All
no,
right.
no. We care about all parts of the relationship and not just the romantic. Like we want friendship with our mate. We want conversation with it. We want to know that we're thought of, just like when people, out the blue, I call somebody I hadn't talked to in a year. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I just had a text exchange with a woman who didn't come to church yesterday but saw my dress and was like, girl, you were wearing that dress. I was getting ready to order the same one. Like, and you didn't say boo about the dress.
Okay. So I believe I did say something about the dress when you asked me about how did it look. And so
You said fine, but here I get a random text message. You see what I'm saying? It's just
okay.
like things that things matter, and you should take the effort to care about the things that matter to us.
Okay. All right. Number two. Number two. She just slipped yesterday's news in there. So
It just happened right before we
interestingly.
got on here.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm trying to refrain to talk about the other thing that just happened right before we got on here.
Okay.
But see, that stuff matters to me.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that reaction could ruin my whole night and tomorrow too.
Okay. Okay.
And so things matter. And
Okay. Let's go to
it'd be
number 2.
great. And it'd be great. I mean, I'd rather talk about it now than afterwards because I find some safety because there are a few people watching. But maybe I can tie it into number 2. All right. So our greatest need is to feel loved, right? And connected to our mate's life, heart and life. Like we want to feel loved, and we want to feel like we matter.
Okay.
And so when things happen, we lost our light. Hold on one second. When stuff, you go ahead. I mean, we care, and your responses and reactions, and they really matter, and they can matter deeply.
All right. Let's give an example of what we mean by feeling loved. And again, is that with the simple things, or is that with, I mean, can you expound on what feeling loved might constitute?
Just that I'm thought of, that my challenges are not necessarily become your challenges, but my challenges matter even when they're immaterial to you. But if they're material to me, then it should matter. I'm not saying you have to agree when I go on a tangent or if I'm overly emotional, but the fact that I am overly emotional in that alone should matter to you, even if you totally disagree.
Okay. All right. So that where you're walking is you're being joined in that walk. Is that a good way of
or just acknowledge or recognize? Like,
okay,
oh, Shandi, I'm sorry you feel that way, and we should probably unpack that later. Like, what can I do right now to make it better?
Now, you just mentioned not that you're even if you're overly emotional, is that there's an influence in there that your emotion is not matched. This is one of the differences that we find between men and women, that women tend to be a little bit more emotional, or a lot more emotional than men. And would that then constitute an inability to come alongside because of the lack of emotion?
No, it doesn't. It's not your emotion. It's just your time and attention.
Attention.
Like, just maybe ask a few questions, like, why do you think that bothered you so much?
Okay.
And one of the things I've said about you is that just when you can't relate to certain things, a lot of times you don't empathize. And I don't know if that's just a man thing or Adrian man thing.
We're talking in general about men and women, and
well, women.
I think there's definitely some uniqueness that every individual brings to a particular equation, to a particular relationship. But in general, men are less emotional than women, and you're saying that if there isn't a appreciation for where you're walking, that or is this solely about me, or that men struggle to empathize?
I think I don't know. I think it's definitely you.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of other men.
Hmm.
Um, I
Okay.
mean, I could give more examples, but you probably.
No, you this is your week because my turn is coming next week. go go ahead and unburden your soul because and it's okay if you think there's an
And
applicable
I'm not saying
example.
you need to empower my, if I'm over emotional. I'm not saying you should do that. You really should try to bring me down,
Okay.
but just to leave me
Mm-hmm.
in it
Mm-hmm.
and not be that voice of reason to say, Shondi,
Right.
like what me and Adrian went to see Trevor Noah last week, and his parting comments really helped me. So next time, if I'm just going off the deep end, you could ask some of those questions that he mentioned. One of them, he said that he'll say, like, what if this really isn't about me?
Mm-hmm.
That was, and so just by you saying that, Shani, what if this isn't really about you? What if they're just having a bad day? What if that's a demon talking to you? Or, just to acknowledge it instead of just to say, do nothing.
Okay.
Like, just deal with it.
Now I
Call
need
me
you.
when it's over.
I need you. I need you. One of our audience says that it's a man thing.
Mhm.
Okay. I think that that's noted. Thank you. Uh, but I need you to give me some perspective on this because one of the things that men catch a bit of um, uh, accusation about is that we try to bring solutions.
Mhm.
We when all that's being asked of us is to listen. Right? Have you
Right.
heard that before?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's number 4. But go ahead.
So asking questions and offering responses and feedback, a lot of men have heard this counsel that we need to just listen. I'm not asking you, quote, I'm not asking you to say anything. I'm not asking you to come up with a solution. I'm not asking you to respond. All I'm really asking you for is to listen because I need a listening ear. Have you heard that before?
Mhm.
Okay. So, what would differentiate between that moment and then the Trevor Noah counsel that you just offered? What would be the distinction?
I think just asking me some, I mean, you the coach,
So
some
ask
coaching questions like,
ask and say,
what do you,
what's today's need? Do I just need to listen, or do I need to?
that could be good too.
That would be okay.
Yeah. Or, yeah, that could be really good. Like, okay, what do you want in this situation? Do you
Okay.
want me to problem solve? Because there are a few times that I do want you to help me problem solve. But am I just, is it okay to ask a few questions?
Mm-hmm.
Um, can I give you my opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have permission to give some wise counsel in this
Mm-hmm.
situation?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that I'm hearing you. And I would even handle this would even be good. Okay. Like, Shandi, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry that this is bothering you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just be honest with you, Shandi. Everything within me wants to tell you that you don't need them in your life,
Mm-hmm.
or everything in me wants to tell you to um, that you don't deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you need from me right now in this moment?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mitchell, so glad you tuned in. He said, before my wife starts, I always ask her, do you want me to listen or give my opinion?
That is beautiful. That
Yeah.
is perfect.
Yeah. So,
Do you need to write that down?
well, it's actually being recorded. So I plan to, after tonight's session, I'm going to go back after I grab my notebook and my pen, and I'm going to record some things.
Okay.
And I'm really laying myself out here to be a chalkboard of sorts for other brothers that might be in similar vices as I am, and hopefully we will gain some deeper understanding that we might be able to appreciate the differences, the distinctions of our wives, our partners, and bear better fruit. And bear better fruit. All right, number 3.
Okay. And we discussed this before, but women have a greater need to talk than men, typically in the tune of 15,000 words, okay, per day. So the average woman speaks 25,000 words a day. The average man, maybe 12,500. So it's really half,
Mhm.
right? And so the typical response, I mean, what a lot of women don't like is, yeah, no, I don't know, when she's just poured out her heart.
Okay. So you mean the one word responses are helpful or not helpful?
Not helpful.
Okay, so this brings us back into that whole discussion of better understanding. Is this a time where you're wanting me to listen, or if you wanted me to give feedback? All right, I got it.
This is just regular conversation. This is when things are going well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want you to, like, if I'm having a good day, or not just a bad day, but a good day, you're like, I want you to get off that phone or at a sports center and just take a few minutes and just comment.
Okay. See me next week. I got you. I heard you. No phone, no center. All right. Number 4.
We kind of talked about this. She has a need for the man to listen. She often solves her own problems, and I do this all the time, by just talking through it. But if I can't talk through it, and you know this, I really struggle. When I can't talk through it, it is really keeps me up. So
she has a need for the man to listen. Okay. All right. I think we beat that donkey.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
We beat that donkey.
All right.
Good.
The next one. Her identity can be found in her relationships and her home. Yet in today's world, she's pulled to feel her identity should be from her career outside the home or how much she earns.
Okay.
Identity is a problem on both sides, honestly. Like, a lot of times we are that is a woman thing, but I think that can be a man thing too.
I think identity, you said it well, identity needs to be it is an opportunity for growth on both sides.
Yeah. And it's and you can't do that for me, but you can help me, and vice versa. Like, I don't need to be talking about, you the man, you should be doing blah 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 blah. That is not, but that's next week. Okay. She has a great need to feel safe and secure. Can't stress that enough.
Right. Would you say that the safety and security are the number one need that a woman brings? And well, let me ask that, and then I'll get to the B part.
It's in the top 4 or 5.
I didn't expect you to say 4 or 5.
It is in the top. For me, it's number 1.
Okay. And you don't think that that's a general?
No, I think most women need to feel loved. But see, I feel loved by so many other people that, you know, I'm not struggling in that area.
Wait a minute. Hold up. What?
I mean, I'm talking about, I feel loved by my kids. Feel loved by my parents. I feel loved by God. So I know that I'm loved. Yeah, I want to feel that from you, but if I don't get it from you, I mean, I have reserves in other places, right? But number one for me is safety and security.
Okay, so
It didn't come out right, but
well, hey, I mean, this is your platform. You take your moment.
okay. That security. And that's not just I mean, it's physical, it's financial, it's emotional.
Uh-huh.
Um, I need to feel that um, I'm your number one priority. That makes me feel safe. That I'm your first priority. You know, outside of God, because we put God first. But um, yeah, it's all that
Okay.
that I never. Yeah, that's big for me.
Right. I would say it's big for most women,
Hmm.
most to all,
Hmm.
that I would put it top three. I was shocked that you said 4 or 5. I would put that as top three,
Yeah.
um, and understandably so. Um, all right, let's do number 7.
All right. A woman is typically modest with her physical body and often doesn't feel comfortable being naked. She may not feel secure that she's everything that her husband wants.
Now this is relative from person to person more than anything else that you've spoken, in my opinion, because I would wrestle with saying this is a generalization when you see when you look at the landscape of society today and see where women are far more comfortable in their body, and so much so that they're publicly comfortable to be less modest, that I would struggle to believe that this carries over to private moments of of nakedness, because again, so many individuals are reflecting that in public spaces.
I'm trying to be careful with my words,
Sure, sure.
but I think because of the the society and all of those images out there constantly, that I would say that people may be struggling more than ever before because
Okay.
of comparison.
Because of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the flip side of this bears to question: are we to take away from this that men are not also feeling a sense of insecurity when it comes to their personhood, their bodies naked?
Um, I think it's far worse than women. I
It,
mean, far less than women.
it's less than women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, what what I think that may be true about most of all of that we said tonight, that it can be less, but I don't want to leave us with the impression that it's not applicable to men at all.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it is applicable to some, but in a far less degree than women. What do you all say? Like, do you think a lot of men are struggling with their body image? I mean, hey, you could look. I'm being careful with my words.
This matters because it impacts intimacy.
Right.
But I don't believe that it is something. Again, our subject is opposite attraction, and we're pointing out distinctives within each partner, specifically tonight about men, I mean women. But again, I struggle to present this in such a way that we leave people thinking that men don't wrestle with this as well.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, far more women. I mean, the pressure is on the woman to look right. You know, the pressure's on the woman to get her body back after having gained 50 pounds 4 out of 5 pregnancies.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you even think about it.
No, that's not true. You see me doing push-ups and sit-ups continually, and you also have talked openly about sympathy, weight, and all of that other stuff. And we've seen other examples of men putting on sympathy weight. So while our bodies may not be disfigured to the degree that women's are, I think there's still, again, I'm not trying to make a big issue of this. I just don't want it to come across as though men don't have uh, sensitivity to their body as well. So,
Mhm.
all right.
All right, we're already past 30 minutes, so I think we should wrap it up and give me another week next week, and then we'll finish yours the third week.
I don't know if I could take 2 weeks of this back to back, where you just take pot shots at the masculine differential.
No, I'm making pot shots at you, not the masculine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have so many stop signs that I'm seeing right now that
Yeah, honestly, it's been a tough day. So I apologize.
so opposites attract in spite of how strong these differences may be.
Mhm.
There's still a magnetism, um, a coming together. What we're after is appreciating those differences so that when you get as close as you possibly can, no, when you get closer, that you will not repel, but that you will even get closer than you ever have before. That's what I wanted to say. And
And
so, go ahead.
no, go ahead, you finish. And then I'll ask a question.
No, go ahead.
So what have you learned tonight?
I thought you said we're getting ready to wrap up.
We are getting ready. Like,
I've learned a lot.
What's your big takeaway?
I,
What's your big takeaway?
I'm going to ask: does this apply to me, or does it not? What
That's
is this?
not-
Is this something?
Go back to that. The viewers. No, you need to write this down. That's not the question. Like, what do you want me to do with this information? I mean, what can I do best? What I would like is, what could I do best to serve you in this moment? Because I see that you are really disturbed. Do you want me to
If you
offer
would-
a suggestion, or would you like just to listen? I mean, am I to be a sounding board right now? Am I to offer solutions, or like I've wanted you to do many times, or do you want me to go knock them upside the head? And it's usually 3. Or give them a piece of your mind.
Got it.
All right. Close us out, baby.
Did y'all see? Right. And live to win tomorrow. I'm so glad that you all joined us tonight. I hope that something has been stirred within you that makes you sit down with your partner and better understand how to maneuver in the space of your differences and still be attracted one to another. I think that so much happens due to our differences where we mismanage them and mishandle them and ultimately end up going to our polar opposite spaces and corners. And that could mean, just for a reprieve, or it could mean an ultimate divorce, no longer walking and doing life together. So that's the reason why we're spending this time to talk about how you have been attracted to somebody and then found out more distinctives and were repelled. We are hoping that you can maneuver with understanding and still be drawn one to another. So join us next week as we continue down this path. I'm desiring to talk to the men's issues, but as you have already heard, Chandi's not unburdened her soul sufficiently. So
We can go to the men as long as we come back.
She's desiring
No,
part two to
No.
feminine needs. And so, and in the midst of discussing differences. And so the bulk of it is meet us back here at 7 o'clock next Monday, and we will pick up and try to be a blessing in any way that we possibly
We'll
can.
be fair. I think we should go to the men, and then we can come back to some of the women, because
You're not fair.
I don't want people to think I'm just beating up on you.
I'm good. I'm really good.
I know you are.
I'm good because you're making good TV right now. Okay. God bless y'all. Next Monday, I'll be back. I'm going to put up my riot gear, but I'll be back.
No.
God bless you.
And I apologize if anybody feels like I've been too wrong.
God bless you. Be safe. Look over your shoulder. Take care.
Good night.